Hey guys, what's up? It's Lainey, and today is the first video of my Preptober series. I'm so excited to bring you guys this series. It's something I've been working really hard on, and I also hope it's really helpful for you guys. If you don't know what Preptober is, it's basically the prep month before NaNoWriMo in November. This is my favorite part. I mean, besides the actual drafting, this is my favorite part of the writing process. I love pre-writing, which is pretty much what all of Preptober is, all your pre-writing stuff, getting things together, getting ready to write those first words come November 1st. And I thought it would be really neat to do an entire video series on every single step that I take to prepare for NaNoWriMo. The playlist that I create, the Pinterest boards that I put together, the developing of characters, and today we're going to be focusing on how to develop a story idea and how to grow that idea into something that can be a full-length novel. So if you're lucky, you'll have 100 of different story nuggets that you've maybe have written down, or I've sometimes put different story ideas in on my Pinterest boards. Just something that I thought that might be interesting to write in the future. Well, if you guys have followed me on any of my other recent videos, you guys know I went through like this huge writing burnout, I'm gonna call it, where I could not write. I haven't been able to write the entire year up until June. So I like kind of took off 6 months from writing. I was thinking distantly over the summer, I'm like, what will I do for NaNoWriMo in November? Because I've had story ideas, but I haven't had a new story idea, something that I was like really passionate about, for over a year. And I don't know if that was just because my creative well was completely dried, or my brain just could not handle thinking creatively something new. I guess I've always had like one story idea in the back of my head, and that's like my cyberpunk story idea that I've had for like years, but I never feel like I'm smart enough to write it, which is fine. Like, I don't, like, no one needs to tell me like, oh, you can still write it. I just don't feel like I'm capable of writing and doing that story justice still. So towards the end of the summer, I did finally get a story idea, and I thought this would be a great one to explore for NaNoWriMo. It's only been sitting in my brain, but this month I'm really going to be developing it and outlining it and coming up with a well-rounded 3-act structure, hopefully. A lot of my little nuggets come from visual media. Visual media is the huge, like the biggest, the only inspiration for how I develop my own story ideas. It's usually something that I really like in a story, whether that be a theme, a setting, a relationship that I really like and I want to explore further. And it can also be like on the, like, I don't want to say the negative side, but like how I look at something and I'm like, oh, I don't like how they did that. I could probably do it better. If you're struggling with finding a story idea, I would suggest going through your favorite movies, your favorite TV shows, and figure out what you like about them. Pulling all of those things out will help you develop a story idea of your own. With Sharp Hollows, which is my desert fantasy, I guess. I mean, clearly I was very much inspired by one of my favorite movies, The Mummy, and one of my other favorite movies, National Treasure. And I wanted to combine that kind of exploratory plot in a YA fantasy with Cruel Family, which is the project that I'm currently working on. That's completed. I'm revising it. That one was inspired by my love for one of my other favorite movies, Cruel Intentions, and how I wanted to play with the step-sibling trope, which is kind of deviated from that a lot if you guys have watched any of my recent vlogs. Even before I decided on that, what happened was my great critique partner, Amanda, I was with her, we were doing a little mini writing retreat, and she told me to look at tvtropes.com, and I'll link that down below. I was scrolling through different tropes that show up in TVs, and I found the step-sibling trope, and that reminded me of Cruel Intentions. One of my favorite historical families is the Borgias. Threw those together, decided to make a whole story about it. My current NaNoWriMo 2020 project. I feel like if I attach 2020 to it, it's setting itself up for failure, but I don't have a project name for this one yet. Basically, I buddy watch a lot of movies with my two friends. We were buddy watching this movie with a strong sort of romantic subplot, and we were all for it because it was kind of like a villainship. And then I think the movie didn't deliver on the villainship very much, but I also tend to see that a lot in movies. They don't really deliver on what we ask for. I can find plenty of books where they definitely deliver on that, but I feel like for movies, they look for the happily ever after. That's a side note. I was really disappointed in how that whole plot line of the romantic subplot played out. And I was thinking, man, I could do that so much better. And hence, that is where my story idea came from. I wanted to work with that trope. Next was, what do you see this as? You have a trope and you have a romantic relationship you want to play with. How do you build everything around that? At this point, there's been no characters. I've thought of no characters. There's no setting. However, I ended up marrying that trope with something I've always kind of wanted to incorporate into a YA fantasy before, which is organized crime. I love organized crime. I always get comments when I say this being like, are you trying to tell us something? I just read and watched so many non-fic mafia movies, TV shows when I was in high school and in college. Like, if I could get a degree in organized crime, I would have it. So I've always wanted to write that into a YA fantasy setting, but I never had thought of like how or a story involving that. But I thought, hey, this romantic subplot and this thing I've always wanted to explore, I'm gonna combine them together and I'm gonna make a story out of it. That is what has been boiling back into my head for the past few months, and I can't wait to start putting it down into a notebook because I haven't yet. So I think that's a great tip for you if you're trying to figure out what you want in your story or what to write. Combine different ideas that you've had in the past. So you have this little half-baked story idea and you're trying to figure out, how do I make it into a real thing? This is one of my favorite parts and I can't wait to do this, but I'm gonna explain how I do that right now. The brain dump. This is where you write down everything that you possibly can think of for this story. It's for me mostly a stream of conscious thing, so I'm not really thinking, I'm jumping around a lot. I'll talk about different characters I'm thinking, different settings, different dialogue sometimes I'll throw in that I really want to incorporate. Anything and everything goes down into that brain dump. And that's when I try to figure out, pull things out and try to make it into a cohesive outline. But we're not going to talk about outlines today. So if the stream of conscious brain dump isn't for you, I do have another idea, and I have done this for my rewrite of Pair of Blank, which is my rich pirate fantasy that's no longer pirates. And I don't know if I'm gonna have to blur this out, but you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. And I can't right now think off the top of my head, what is this called? Because I know it's a thing. It's a diagram of some sort, but I forget like the official name for it. I don't know if I'm blurring this out right now, probably am. So, but you can see what I'm talking about, right? So I put in the relationship. I started branching things off. I incorporated things for the entire story of how the whole world plays with this relationship. So I have like witches up here, and I started going and jotting things down of how I wanted these witches to be, what kind of magic they had, etc., etc. I have one of the main characters' names over here, and I have things shooting off of that character, of how I wanted that character to be. One of the other main characters is down here, jotting things off. Up here's the villain of the story. I have things going off there. And the main relationship bond that they have, I also kind of talked about that. So this is also another great way, and honestly I kind of want to try this again with this one. And even doing this, I came up with so many other new ideas that I wanted to have in this new rewrite of this project. I know I'm jumping around different projects a lot, but I try a lot of different things with every project that I do, and I kind of see what I like and see what works for me. I don't know if you guys are those kind of writers, but I am definitely that kind of writer. Both of these different options, someone's gonna tell me in the comments what that diagram is, and I'm gonna feel stupid. Is it a bubble? A bubble diagram? Is that what they're called? I don't know. Or the brain dump of just writing stuff into a notebook. Either one. And I'm telling you guys, if you try this exercise, you will definitely come up with different ideas. And you can throw anything that you possibly think of that you might want to try, you kind of visualize for this story, anything. Even if you just like write down different notes about what you like in other TV shows or movies and how you can incorporate that into your own work. You can think a little, but definitely do not overthink when you're doing this. At least for me, I find that I really explore and I really discover new things when I'm not overthinking it and like getting really down on myself that I'm like trying to force it. Yeah, that's the word, force it. So I threw a lot of information at you for this first video, and I really hope I have some cohesion when I am editing this, because I'm kind of nervous now. I really hope you guys found some ideas or some exercises that you guys want to try when you're trying to develop a story. Lots more videos coming this month. I'm so excited to bring you guys along with how I do all these pre-writing steps to develop my story and get ready for NaNoWriMo. I'm so excited for November, and October is my favorite month because my birthday, Halloween, Preptober, it's the best month of the year. I'm very excited to share with you guys my process. I love sharing my process with you guys. Let me know if you guys are participating in NaNoWriMo. We'll be talking more soon. I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye!